Awesome. Welcome back in YouTube world. This is the one and the only Comical Sports. I hope you are having a fantastic day. So, if you go check out our podcast below, we talked to our NFL draft expert, Tailgate Bengals, today. It was a great episode. Please download. I still don't know how to add those things up there. But one of the big things we talked about was this Tua Tagovailoa to the Redskins rumors. Which is a fascinating situation because Washington, not in love with Dwayne Haskins. Maybe it's a smokescreen, maybe it's not, but I've been saying for a little over a year that Dwayne Haskins has legitimate concerns that I don't know if I can overcome, but the fact that he has Ron Rivera coming in as his coach gives me hope that it may take 3 or 4 years, but Dwayne Haskins is going to be an excellent NFL quarterback. Now, the question becomes, if that's the case, would you rather Ron Rivera be able to pick the quarterback that he gets going forward? It's all a fascinating situation. So, in regards to this, I wanted to address 3 questions. Better fit? If the Redskins draft Tua, what would that look like? Smokescreen or not? And I guess we'll address the first thing, which is a smokescreen, which is important to distinguish that this is lying season in the NFL. The Redskins, if they aren't going to draft Tua, they at least want the Miami Dolphins to believe that they want to draft Tua so that they may make a move up to the top of the draft. Now, maybe this is because Washington views Jeff Okudah as this great prospect that could make a huge difference, and they want to get 1 or 2 of those first-round picks from the Miami Dolphins. It's a fascinating situation to be in. Whether they would want to pass up on Chase Young and go ahead and draft whoever falls to number 5, whichever player that might be, whether it's Okudah, whether it's Derek Brown. If they view one prospect that has to be available at 5 as their guy that they have to have, then it makes some sense. Tailgate Bengals said that Chase Young is the best draft prospect he's seen over the last 5 years, and the Redskins are in a perfect position to draft him, which is why the smokescreen the smokescreen idea makes the most sense, because Washington couldn't possibly pass up on Chase Young, right? So number 2, what would happen if Dwayne Haskins were to be replaced by Tua Tagovailoa? Because if they bring in Tua, there's no way that Dwayne Haskins will be on their roster to start next season. So what constitutes a winnable situation for Dwayne Haskins? Well, he's probably not going to be a starter. I think that's kind of taken for granted. He's not going to be a starter wherever he goes. He'll probably be a backup somewhere where he can potentially flourish. A quarterback needy team that's potentially looking for someone to elevate their status going forward. I could totally understand if he goes to Tampa Bay, as the Buccaneers look to be signing Teddy Bridgewater coming up instead of drafting a quarterback. The Colts make a ton of sense if they want to breed Dwayne Haskins up. They could even swap quarterbacks for Jacoby Brissett's contract and have him back up Tua for a period of time. If Tua is going to not be available to start the season, it makes all the sense in the world for Washington to get a player of Jacoby Brissett's caliber at this point. Who knows on that situation? You also find yourself in a situation where Dwayne Haskins, who in my opinion I've had concerns about him, and not just because he took a selfie instead of kneeing out the clock. I mean, this dude has had genuine concerns for as long as I've been paying attention to him in the draft. And I look at him and I say, that won't work. And then Ron Rivera became the head coach and said all the right things. I'm like, this could work, but I still don't like the situation. So what is the solution to that? If you're a guy like if you're in Ron Rivera's position in the new front office and you're like, well, the front office, Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder drafted Dwayne Haskins. Ron Rivera, usually in Washington, the coaches don't have the power over the executives, but I think Dan Snyder recognizes that he's not going to be able to tell Ron Rivera what he does and doesn't want Ron Rivera to do. There we go. That's what I meant to say. He's not going to be able to just tell Ron Rivera what it is he wants from him, and Ron Rivera is just going to do it. So if Ron Rivera does have control over the say in personnel, I could see him wanting to bring in a new quarterback because he didn't draft Haskins. He doesn't particularly believe in Haskins, but there is a situation where Ron Rivera could pass up on the chance to take Chase Young in order to solidify the quarterback position for the next 10 or so years. Because maybe he doesn't see Dwayne Haskins as the one the way I do. There was also the report, and I don't know how real this was, that Dwayne Haskins was so bad at learning the playbook, like coaches were dumbfounded. The offensive coaches were dumbfounded by how difficult it was for Dwayne Haskins to learn the playbook when he was coming up. And that is another sign where I'm looking at him and I'm like, this guy won't work. Dave Gettleman knew what he was doing when he drafted Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins. Shocker to say, only 10 months out from the previous NFL draft where we were all crushing Dave Gettleman for taking Daniel Jones. And the third part of this situation is, so we talked about that. What would it look like if it happened? And 3, would Ron Rivera be crazy enough to do that? And the answer, I think, is yeah. Acknowledging that it's a smokescreen, I think, yeah, he could absolutely draft Tua Tagovailoa. What does it mean as the rest of the draft commences? Well, it means the Dolphins will take Justin Herbert. The Chargers will be quarterbackless at this point, but they will have Tom Brady in hand. Oh, did I just say that? The Chargers are going to have Tom Brady in hand? I think I just did. And we find them in a position where Jacob Eason is going to be available. Jordan Love is going to be available. We don't know where those guys are going to go or what team is potentially in the market for a quarterback, but we do find a situation in which both of those guys could end up being together, hand in hand, I guess. Jacob Eason and Jordan Love could be drafted together in the first round with the other 3 quarterbacks, potentially very early in the draft. I mean, some people have Eason going at the very top of the draft, which would be very fascinating to think about if such a move were to constitute. It is lying season. We take that into account, but this Tua to the Redskins situation is absolutely fascinating.